Hey toy fans, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Jetfire figure. This figure, as you can see, comes in a very nice box. The artwork is really impressive. You can see it here. You can see Jetfire there. And I mean, I'm not an inbox collector for the most part, although I do keep boxes generally. Because I've always just, ever since I started toy collecting, I was encouraged to keep the packaging, because packaging does have value, but box art is something I really do appreciate. You got a picture of the Ark, some of the characters there, and you've got on the front actually really nice image of Omega Supreme, if you can see right there. And here's Jetfire himself, and one of the reasons why I like this figure is because I grew up in the 1980s with the original G1 Transformers, and the Jetfire figure obviously didn't look he didn't look very much like he did in the cartoon. He had this kind of covered faceplate rather than the animation look, which most people are more familiar with. But I always really loved that figure, the design of the faceplate. And one of the great things about this War for Cybertron Jetfire is that he comes with an optional faceplate to display him with, as you can see here. Although his visor is not red as it was on the vintage toy, it's blue, but that's fine, I can deal with that. And on this side you got another image of the Ark. I believe that's the Ark, yeah, departing from Cybertron. Really nice artwork. And on the back you can see the figure itself here, and as it says, it's got 38 points of articulation. Now here's the interesting thing. In terms of collecting Transformers, I don't actually collect generally this Siege line, is it Legend scale? I don't collect this scale of Transformers. Generally, I collect the Masterpiece scale. Now, one other reason why I like this figure is because it actually scales very well for my Masterpiece collection. Fits in perfectly for what I want. I know a lot of fans enjoy the Fan Toys Phoenix, but me, personally, I feel that figure is a little bit too big for my tastes, personally. And I didn't want to pay Fan Toys prices for a character who I like, but I'm not willing to spend, a bomb on getting this figure. And price-wise, this figure is very cool. I think it cost me $79.99 at Forbidden Planet, which is a shop over here in the UK, where I get a lot of stuff from. Yeah, so the price point was great. The size was even better, because I think he scales very well next to Optimus Prime and other characters. Now, I know in the cartoon animation he did stand quite taller than the other characters according to the model sheet. But here's another thing about me. In terms of Transformers collecting, I'm not one who's a big fan of generally cartoon designs. I much prefer the G1 toy aesthetic, and I understand that there's a lot of people who do love the cartoon design, but the thing I find is that when you're taking more animation based designs and transforming them into a 3D representation, you kind of lose a lot of detail if you're adhering too closely to the animation model sheet. Because in animation, I used to study animation, just put that out there. A lot of things are simplified for ease of animation, and when it comes to 3D sculpting or action figures, which are basically mini sculptures, there's a lot of detail that can be lost if you're just adhering too closely to the animation model sheet. Now, I know there's fans who do love that, and that's great. And the great thing about Transformers, especially at the Masterpiece scale, is that there's a lot of options for the characters. So, you don't have to just go with one aesthetic. Me, as I said, I generally like a little bit more detail in my figures, so therefore I lean more towards the toy designs. And also, I just love the Diaclone original concept, vision of what these characters were. In some cases, there's some characters who I do think, yeah, they did improve them for the animation, but generally speaking, yeah, I'm more of a G1 toy aesthetic type of guy, and that's what I like to go for. So yeah, it's enough talk about general chit chat, enough talk about the box. I think we should take a look at the figure. Okay, so here we have the Siege Jetfire out of the packaging, and the first thing I'd like to do is measure the figure, because scale for my collection is very important to me. So let's bring in the tape, and he stands actually to the top of his head is about 12 inches, but his backpack at the back makes him just slightly taller. So to the top of the backpack, actually that is 12 inches. His head is probably about the 11.5 inch mark. Now this is really cool, you know, for my particular collection. As I said, I'm mostly a masterpiece collector. So I'm going to bring something in here for scale comparison. And I find one of the best figures to use for scale comparison is the MP10. Because this was the figure that pretty much defined the MP scale, kind of locked it in. So let's put MP10 next to him here. Now that's quite nice, I think. See, for my collection, that is a very... Let me just move the camera down a bit. That is a very nice scale. I think the contrast between Optimus Prime and Jetfire is great there. But as I said, the Fans Toys Phoenix is just a little bit too out of place for me personally. Now, I can do another comparison. If you bear with me. So for another comparison, I know a lot of modern collectors like the MP44, which I also like myself, but I made some customizations to my MP44. Had to change the head because I didn't really like the too accurate head. But as you can see, MP44 and MP10 stand at the same height, which is roughly around 10 inches. If I get my tape again. So yeah, MP10, just as a point of reference, is about 10 inches tall. Thereabouts. Just below, I suppose. Roughly on 10 inches. Same with MP44, so that's pretty much key to any figures that you want to add to your collection, because, you know, Optimus Prime pretty much is kind of like a center point of any Transformer collector's collection. But I've also got another figure here, just for a quick comparison. I've got the Studio 86 Hot Rod, and I'm not much of a is it CHUG chug scale? I can't remember the scales personally because I don't collect them too much, but I just love the character of Hot Rod, so I had to pick this one up. If you want to put your Siege Jetfire in your collection, he would look with other Siege War for Cybertron or Studio 86 figures. He would look the size of roughly what the Fan Toys Phoenix would look in scale with the MP collection. But you know, this Studio 86 Hot Rod, this for me, it's just a figure I got for fun because I like the character, and he's not really a main part of my Transformers display because I'm usually working at the masterpiece scale. So let's take a look at some of the accessories that Jetfire comes with, but before we do, let's do a 360. So as you can see, it's a very nice figure. There's a lot of, let's bring this closer. There's a lot of detail. First of all, he's got a great face. As you can see there, this is very true to the animation design, which is great. And he has light piping at the back of his head. So it's a bit difficult to get there because of the backpack. It kind of stops light from shining through to make the eyes light up. I'm not really that big a fan of light piping. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. But I don't think his eyes look too dead. And me personally, as I said, I'm probably going to be displaying him for the most part with the faceplate. Now what you've got is you've got a lot of sculpted detail. Let's have a look. There's a lot of sculpted detail on this figure, and this is what made him very appealing to me. Unfortunately, there's no paint to bring out and accentuate these details all throughout the body As you can see, it's not just a plain smooth plastic that they've used. They've actually sculpted a lot of extra detail, and that is very appealing to me. As I said, I personally like detail on action figures, you know. He has his symbol here, Autobot symbol, which another great thing is that you can actually change this over. If I can change it, bear with me. So you can have him as a Decepticon, as he first appeared in, I believe he was a Decepticon in the Marvel comics when he first appeared, and also in Sunbow animation. He started out as, you know, a Decepticon who was deceived by Starscream. Then he later converted to an Autobot. So that's really great that you can choose his faction symbol without having to, you know, stick a sticker down and make a fixed choice about whether you want him to be on the side of the Autobots or on the side of the Decepticons. You can actually change that at will. So I'll have him as an Autobot because I like him as a heroic character. Now, moving down, as you see, there's more detail on the vents there. You'll see it more when I transform him. Also on the arms, there's just so much sculpted detail. This is just a really great figure, man. And you know, I don't really have high hopes for Hasbro products generally these days, but this really was an incredible figure, and especially for the price. Really does fit. Well, it does feel a bit light in places. You know, he's not got any die cast in him, but for what he is, and for his price point, I think this is just a great figure and a perfect stand-in for me and my collection for what I'd want from a Jetfire figure. So let's take a look at some of the accessories he comes with. So now we're going to take a look at the accessories that this Siege Jetfire comes with, and usually in a lot of cases Hasbro is very cheap when it comes to including accessories for figures, but in this case they did a really good job. So let me show you. First of all, you get these two lasers, I suppose, which could be attached to him. Get two of those. You also get these two larger lasers. See these here? So great. You get two guns. I suppose you call these rifles, I suppose, laser rifles. These are great, and these can both be combined to form a double-barreled laser rifle. You get his armor chest piece here, which is really cool. Now this also has a flap, which you can lift up, which allows you to store his next accessory, which is his faceplate, which is the reason why I really wanted this figure. So you get the faceplate here. You can store this actually in here. Close that down, which is cool. However, he can't actually wear this chest piece while the mask is inside. So I guess this is for when you've got him in jet mode. I suppose you can put the mask in there. Or for me, in most cases, I'm going to be displaying him with the mask, so therefore it's not an option that I'm really going to be using very often. I mean, there are going to be times where he takes it off, yeah, here and there, but I generally like the mask looked better. And this is great because if you look, it's got some nice blue translucent plastic here, so you can actually see his eyes when he's actually wearing the mask, which I'll show you in a bit. It comes with this accessory, which I don't particularly care for. I don't know, maybe it's got to do something to do with the actual Siege War for Cybertron show, but I don't recognize this piece. But it actually, when you get the figure in the box, this is stored in his cockpit right here, and I didn't like that because I wanted to put other figures inside his cockpit, so I took this out, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll make up some storyline for it, I don't know. This piece here. It also comes with these two I suppose cannon type parts, which can display either in bot mode or jet mode. See, Hasbro's giving us quite a lot here. And you also get blast effects. You get 6. So you get 2 of these long blast effects, 2 of these explosive blast effects, and 2 more, I suppose, boosters type. These are more booster type blast effects. Now these blast effects can actually be stacked, so you could put this inside of this and this inside of this, so you get an even larger blast effect. And then if you add it to, say, let's put it in his gun, you get that effect, which is really very cool. And I really wish more figures did come with blast effects, because, you know, with your Transformers collection, you got a load of characters with a load of guns, but the guns always look like they're not being fired. So it'd be great if they included more. It's quite versatile because you can even put them in these cannons, I suppose. Let's try this here. You can put them in here, whichever ones you so choose, because they've all got the same connector port, and they'll look like that. And also there are various parts around Jetfire's body that you can actually plug things into according to your own will. I mean, there's a way that it's displayed on the packaging, but you can really mix things up and get quite creative with how you choose to display your Jetfire figure. So let's get him armored up and I'll show you how some of this works. So first of all, we are going to start with his mask. I suppose I should pan up. Bear with me. Let's pan up. Right, let's start with his mask. So here we are. Zoom in a bit. There we go. So we'll start with Jetfire's mask, which, as you can see, clips on. And I really love his facial expression, actually. As I said, I'm not really much of a toon. I mean, I did enjoy the cartoon. I love the '86 movie and everything. I'm not really much for the toon aesthetic, generally speaking, as I said. But his face just looks awesome. I mean, it really does. He's got this kind of like slightly squinted eyes, which gives a lot of character to the face. You can look up around. His head's got great mobility. Actually, let me do the articulation. So as you can see, head can turn side to side, look up and down, and it's not hindered by the backpack. You can look up quite well. Then let's go down to the arms. Zoom out. So the arms can go up and they're ratcheted. I mean, it's all plastic, there's no die cast in here, it's all plastic, but they've included ratchets, which is great. As you can hear, they're nice strong ratchets. You can also move his arm out to the side, which is also ratcheted, as you heard. Now the one thing is that if you move his arm up and you try to move it down, as you can see, the shoulder tends to separate from the shoulder tends to separate from the body. Now this is due to his transformation, but I think Hasbro could have made this a little bit of a tighter connection so that wouldn't happen, but it's an easy way to solve it. All you've got to do is just put your finger there whenever you're moving that joint and it won't pop loose. So that, and he's got a bend at the elbow, which is again ratcheted, very strong ratchets. You can rotate at the elbow. He's got wrist rotation. You can open and close his fingers. Now when you open his fingers, this is a pretty cool feature. When you open his hand, let me get down to it. When you open his hand, you'll see that there's an empty palm, yeah? But if you close his hand, you get this little circular shape, which is what you can use to peg the gun into. So let's get a gun. And that means he can hold his gun with a very good grip. So you put it into that circle, and that's how he holds the gun, and that's not going anywhere. I mean, you could take that, wobble it around, that gun's not going anywhere. That's a really great feature which might be good to see on other figures. It's the first time I've ever seen it on a Transformer figure, and I think it's a great idea. So what else have we got here in terms of articulation? Just get this gun out of his hand. See, he holds it really tightly actually. There we go. So he's not got a race rotation due to the transformation feature, but he's got legs which can go up vertically like that. They can kick back that far, which is hindered by the jet boosters. It's no problem. He's got some waist, hip flaps, which can lift them up, and you can get full splits. Ratchets on the legs going forward, which are great. They really hold that pose. And bend at the knee, which is also ratcheted. Again, another reason why I love this figure. And you can tilt his ankles from side to side, and you can move his toes up and down. That generally covers his articulation. So it's great. I mean, it's everything that you could want from a figure like this. Lots of posability, strong. Although it's made of plastic all through, it's got ratchets which are very strong and they hold really well. So yeah, let's get him armored up now. So forgive me, I'm not going to be doing a lot of heavy editing in my videos. I'm just going to come with it raw, man. So hopefully it's conveying the point. I can't be bothered with all the flash editing and shit. Maybe in future, I don't know. But here we go. Put his mask on. And I love that. Although there's one thing missing. Those of you who remember the 80s Jetfire figure, which was based on Macross Plus Valkyrie, I think that's what it was called. He had those earpieces which would stick off the side, like these two kind of like two V-shape spikes coming off the top of his head. For those of you who remember, that sadly is missing from this figure, and that's a really, really important part of what I loved about the 80s Jetfire, which I never actually owned, but it was my brother's figure, but I got to play with it a lot. So, you know, for me this figure does hold some sentimental value, because obviously when I think of this figure in my collection now, the first thing I think of is my brother, because he loved that toy. But what I do have is something that I bought from a third party on eBay. This is from Matrix Workshops. Yeah, so if you search for Matrix Workshop on eBay, you might be able to find this. It's not that expensive actually. But I got this piece, which looks like this, which are the earpieces. Now they're not separated as they were on the 80s figure, but for me this is good enough. So what we do, you can pin these onto the back of his head. Now you've got a Jetfire that looks a little bit more reminiscent to the 80s toy version, the G1 toy, and this is exactly what I was going for. This is the look I really want, and this is why I chose to get this figure rather than the Fan Toys Phoenix. Now also, if you look here, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can actually see his eyes through the blue translucent plastic. That's a beautiful touch. Again, a little bit of detail which I really love about this figure. I mean, they could have made his eyes not visible through that, but the fact that they do just makes the figure look really cool to me. Not sure if that's coming up clearly on the camera, but I can see it as I'm sitting here. So that's that accessory. Now you can attach his chest plate to his body, but in order to do that you need to open up these flaps. So bear with me while I just open those up. So I just had to do that off camera because it's kind of tricky. You actually have to use some kind of a spudger tool to pry these little flaps open, as you can see here. And what you do is you take the chest piece here, and these have got grooves on the inside, and you can connect those to the body, and that should clip into place. If I can just line it up, you can kind of feel when it goes in. These have to be out straight, and that locks firmly into place there. That's not going anywhere, and that's how he looks. Now personally, I think this chest plate just comes up a little bit too high on the collars, you know, because I kind of feel like it would restrict his vision if he has these two large pieces sticking up like this. But I do like it generally. I think it does look pretty cool generally. And let me show you the next accessories and how they connect. So moving on to the next accessories, what do we have here? How do I like to display my Jetfire? First we're going to put these some of these guns on the back. So I generally like to display, how did I do this? I forget how I had it. Bear with me. I think I put these on here. Did I? Yeah, I like to put these on here like this. This isn't how it is on the box, but you know, you can be creative with this, and what's the point of having a toy if you don't make it your own, you know? So I put these here because I like the way they look stuck up in the air like that. Then coming around to the front, I think this gives him a very nice kind of look, as it, you know, he has these ears coming up there, and those other parts sticking up the back. Those look really cool. Now I should add that when you have these ears attached to Jetfire from Matrix Workshop, when he does tilt his head back, it can hinder with the backpack, but that's not a major problem for me because he's not really going to be looking up too much for me, because he's a character that's taller than most other Transformers in the MP scale, so it's fine. I like to have these cannons on his wrists. Let's plug these in here. You could put them on his lower legs if you choose, but I like to have more firepower on him. I like that. There we go. Zoom out a bit. Yeah, bear with me, just moving the camera. A lot to think about when you're doing a toy review for the first time. Well, at least the first video review. So here you have his guns. Let's move back a bit. So here you have his guns. Now you can display them individually, in one in each arm, or you can combine them. What I'm going to do is go for one in each arm at the moment, and then I'll show you them combined. So let's bring Jetfire forward, put these in his hands. That should plug in there. There, great. Wrist came loose. Plug this in his other hand. There we go. So now he's dual wielding, just like Doc Holliday from Tombstone. Two guns, one for each of you. And I think that looks pretty damn cool. Let's get a good look at him. Let's get a good look at him. So. Yeah, it's not the most dynamic of poses, because it's kind of hard to do posing when you're trying to do camera work at the same time, but let's make something out of this. Get a bit dynamic, because you don't want no lame ass poses. That's pretty cool. So there you have him fully equipped with his weapons. Now you can also put the blast effects on. Let's do that for just fun. Just as an example of what kind of look you can achieve with this figure. If you turn it sideways, you see the blast effect a bit better. That looks really cool. You know, that looks really cool. Let me get a bit more of an angle on this so you can see. There he is. I think that looks really cool. I'm very happy with this figure. I mean, I think for the price point, it is just a great figure. You know, there's no two ways about it. And he really looks the way I would like Jetfire to look. As close as I suppose we're going to get to the original G1 toy at the MP scale. So, yeah, that's Jetfire for you. I think the next thing to do is get him transformed and take a look at him in his jet mode. Although, yeah, he's on the taller side, so it's kind of hard to get him in full frame. But I really should get a full frame. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, that's much better. So yeah, I'm very happy with this figure. Not disappointed in the slightest, especially with this air upgrade I've done to him. So I'm going to get him transformed and we'll take a look at him in the jet mode. Okay, so here we have Jetfire, fully transformed in jet mode. And this is a really great alt mode. As you can see, it rolls. It's got wheels, landing gears, and those do actually turn, so it rolls very smoothly, as you can see. Let's pan up. So it all locks together quite nicely. I mean, there's a little bit of movement here. I don't know if that can tab down any better. It doesn't seem to, oh, there is a tab slot. Bear with me. That does tab in. Yeah, so that stops that movement. Great. So yeah, it locks together really nice. It looks very much like the Jetfire from the cartoon, and it does have a very reminiscent to the G1 toy with this red backpack part being additional jet thrusters. Now on the underside, you can see it is a little bit kibbly, but I don't particularly mind because I'm not going to be displaying him from the underside. Every other angle looks pretty sweet and on point to me. Furthermore, I like that you've got the blue translucent plastic here at the top, which shows, you know, kind of like you can see that there would be an interior space there, which is good. Again, the cockpit is really cool. Put that down. Because as you can see, it's light translucent blue. As I said earlier on, this piece was positioned inside it. It's a bit fiddly to get out because I was a bit annoyed, thinking, oh, can you not put anybody in the cockpit? Well, you can. If you take that part out, you can actually bend the nose cone down and open that up. So if you've got a figure that would fit, you could actually put it in there. Now, what I personally like to use are Mega Construx and Lego Friends figures, because those tend to scale really well with the Transformers MP collection. So if I put a little Lego Friends minifigure there as a human civilian, I'll add Mega Construx Leonardo, because I like to cross universes. See, they fit and scale with each other. Lego Friends and Mega Construx and Lego Friends, that's my tip of the day if you want to make your Transformers collection a little bit more exciting by having some human scaled figures, if they can actually stand up. He doesn't want to stand up today. You can have those in there. Now I've got a Mega Construx me that I made to scale in with my little universe I'm making, so I can stand alongside there. Now what we're going to do is we can take these Lego minifigures. They're quite good for human stand-ins, and you can actually sit her in the cockpit like that. That's pretty cool. Let me get a bit closer. Zoom in there. Yeah, you can sit her in the cockpit like that, but unfortunately you can't close the cockpit with her in it because she's a little bit big, because her head and her arms, she wants to dive out, her head and her arms don't securely fit within the cockpit. As you can see here, her arms are sticking out a bit. But the great thing about these Lego minifigures is you can take them apart. So if I take the lower body off, you can put her in like that, and she seems to fit a bit better, but her arms are still in the way. But what you do, you can pop the arms off like so. Just pop one of the arms off if I can get it out. Just like it. Forgive me, bear with me. Don't want to break this because this is one of my favourite ones. Take the arm out. There we go, the arm's out. Take the arm out. Now she'll fit inside like that. And now you can quite comfortably close the cockpit, close that back up, and she is nice inside. See, like that, she's riding in Jetfire. So you can recreate the issue in the comic where Spike is in Jetfire's cockpit if you so wish to do so. Which is another win for this figure for me, because I love to display my Transformers amongst these other figures to give a sense of scale and really build the world. Let me take her out of there. This is a little tricky to open up. Just get that out. There. So you could do that if you so choose to, which is another win for this figure for me. Any Transformer where these figures fit inside is a definite win for me, and many of them do in the MP scale. Let's put that arm back in and move on. There we go. So now on to displaying this in some battle configurations. So what we can do is you can attach some of the weapons to this chest plate armor piece. So let's do that. How do I usually display this? I don't know. Bear with me while I figure this out. So here I am again. Here is how I like to display Jetfire in his jet mode. As you can see, we've got the guns on the wing here, and if I zoom in, you can see on the top, here he is. He's got this the chest plate. You can attach his main gun and the two arm cannons on there to make an extra gun turret which swivels and rotates, which is pretty cool. And as I showed before, you can put blast effects in there like so, which makes it look like he's really doing some damage. or you can have them as thrusters. I mean, you could position these. Let me show you. You don't have to have these cannons on the top here. You could actually take this off. If I take this one out, you could actually display them as thrusters. So like, for example, you could put it there. That will easily peg in to that hole. Now you could have them facing front ways or back ways, but let's say you wanted to use these as thrusters. You can now plug these pieces in the ports to act as thrusters to be propelling Jetfire forward. So all in all, I mean, you've got a lot of options in how you choose to configure and display this toy, which really enhances its playability, which is a lot of fun. You know, I'm an adult collector, but yeah, I do like to have fun with my toys. Otherwise, there's be no point in collecting them. So let's put this back up here. I've got these also. These guns are displayed on the side here because they tend to clip in very securely. You know, you can put them in other places, but the other connections aren't really as secure, and I kind of don't want pieces falling off all the time. So there is Jetfire in jet mode. You can see from the front, fully armed up. It's great. Now let's once again put figure in there for scale, and this figure's pretty good. Love this little one. There. I think that's a great scale for human to kind of jet scaling. So yeah, I'm gonna just reconfigure him back into bot mode, and I'll share some of my final thoughts, and also do a few more comparisons with some other transformers for scale. Now before I retransform him, I did forget to mention there is one other thing you can do if you're so inclined. See, I've got this Studio 86 Hotwood figure here, which is a pretty cool figure. I like it, but I love Hotwood personally. If we take him, you can see that Jetfire has these hooks, these little hooks on the bottom of him there, and you can also put them out on his waist. Actually, I did mistransform there. That flap should have been down. The flap should be like this, not like this. So I had it mistransformed. So if you move this down, you get these other clips there, the red clips coming down. Now what these are for are, you can have Jetfire transporting other transformers. So the peg holes on the holes, the grip, Hot Rod's grip, or any of the War for Cybertron or Studio 86 figures, if figures of this scale are able to hold on to these handholds, if I clip it in, there we go, it clips. And you can have him transporting other figures. If let me lift up this tripod. Bear with me, it's a bit stiff. So if you wanted Jetfire to be transporting other Autobots, you could do this. Personally, that's not my thing, but if I was still a child collecting toys, this probably would be a fun play feature. So I thought I'd highlight it because it is kind of cool if you're, you know, a child still playing, having adventures, which, you know, even though I'm an adult, I still do. But the thing is, I don't like to display this Jetfire with the Studio 86 figures because I prefer him alongside my MP collection. So just thought I'd highlight that point because it's a pretty cool play feature which yeah, enhances the toy's play value. Okay, once again we have Jetfire fully transformed into bot mode, and I guess I'll share some of my final thoughts about this figure. On the positive side, again, I find the size excellent. Build quality is excellent, even though it's pure plastic. I mean, it doesn't feel as solid as maybe some of the other MPs, you know, legit MPs that might have die-cast parts in them and stuff like that. But even with that being said, it does feel very solid. The plastic's, you know, good quality. It's not too brittle. Nothing has broken on me. I've transformed it a number of times and it's all very secure. The ratchets are excellent in the elbows, the shoulders, the legs. So you can really put this guy in poses and he should hold the pose. There's no friction joints where they shouldn't be. I think the neck is a friction joint. The ankles pretty much friction. They're kind of loose, but they're enough to support the figure. No worries there. Just for size comparison once again, here you have Earthrise Hot Rod. This is how he compares scale wise. to Earthrise Hot Rod. So if you did want to put him in with your Earthrise collection, you could do that, and he would be towering over the other figures, just the way the Fans Toys Masterpiece figure towers over the other MP scale figures. Once again, I'll just throw a little humanoid Lego Friends character in here for scale, because that's the MP scale I like to have. See that humanoid little figure there, she looks great. I'll put in the MP28 Hot Rod for scale. Put him in there. Now this is what I'm more working towards, and I think Jetfire looks great with MP scale Autobots and Decepticons, obviously. Put that back a bit. So he looks good, and you can see that obviously there's a big difference in scale between Earthrise, forgive me, Studio 86 Hot Rod and the MP Hot Rod. MP Hot Rod, just so you keep this thing consistent, MP Hot Rod stands at about, I'm saying 6 inches, I'm guessing. Now closer to the 7-inch mark. So MP Hot Rod 7 inches, Studio 86 Hot Rod is just under 6 inches. I'd say 5.5 inches. So if I take this guy out of the scene, and I put this character back, and I put myself in the shot, I think that's a pretty cool scale ratio between Autobots and humans. And once again, just so we're all on the same page, here is the MP10, and I think that's a great look. You know, that's the kind of this is exactly the scale I want my Jetfire to be at, you know. So I'm very happy with this figure. The one downside I'd say is that he didn't come with the earpiece that you saw me put on. I got that from Matrix Workshop. If you look, search on eBay, Siege Jetfire Matrix Workshop, you should be able to find this part if you feel so inclined to want to recreate the vintage 80s toy look. But yeah, other than that, I would highly recommend this figure. I mean, price point, it costs about £70 over here. I think it's a bit more expensive on the aftermarket because this is a quite sought out figure, but I was lucky enough to find one in a shop for regular retail price. But yeah, I think it's a very worthy addition to any MP collection, and it doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look like, you know, you're just trying to squeeze it in to save a few bucks. No, it looks legit, and Hasbro, they really done a good job on this. One thing I could say could make this figure better is if there was some kind of more paint work to bring out some of the surface details and the paneling on this figure. Now I've got an idea about how to go about customizing this myself, which if it works out I'll do a follow-up video to show you the difference it makes, because I've seen other people do some custom work on this figure to bring out some of those sculpted details properly, and it takes this figure from a good figure to an outstanding figure, I'd say. So it's a bit of a shame that some of those details aren't really visible on an actual figure when you get it, because it's very white, and as you can see I've got a white background here, so a lot of the details being lost. But yeah, as I said, once I do my little customization, Lord willing, I'll do a follow-up video and I'll show you how that goes. But thanks for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful for you, and please feel free to check out any of my other videos that I'll be reviewing. You know, I've got quite an extensive collection of not just Transformers but other toys. So Lord willing, I'll be putting up more reviews and they'll be exciting and enjoyable. So take care for now, and keep collecting.